Greetings, moviegoers, and welcome to the Universal Palace Theatre. With those words, we were introduced to one Mr. Julian Browning, the Usher, who, of course, works as the Usher in the Universal Palace Theatre, a grand cinema palace which is located in the town of Cary, Ohio. One would think a normal, nondescript little Midwestern town in America, and yet one that has a lot of sinister, mysterious history behind it. Just what do they put in the water over there in Cary, Ohio, to cause all of these strange things? Scolders? Anyway, getting on to the Usher. Some of us got a view of the Usher before that introduction on the website, of course. There was a leaked document last year, and included on the leaked document was a picture of the Usher, who was listed as the presenting character, but there was a question underneath it saying, how will the Usher be used? Which meant that there was some question about that, and because of that, there was, amongst those of us who knew, the cognoscenti of HHN, so to speak, a little bit of debate and discussion. Will he be an icon, or will he be merely a mascot? Back before it was finally realized that he would ultimately be the icon after all. Well, he was the icon. And originally I wasn't going to do a video for the Usher because, well, HHN 19's website was still up. Now, of course, it's finally come down to be replaced by a generic home site for HHN until probably, my guess, about 2-3 weeks. And then around July 1st is when I expect the teaser site to go up. Some people think it's coming up sooner, but I'm basing this on history. You know, I hope at least by then. I hope all of the great work they've done on Harry Potter, and they've done a tremendous job putting that together with all the incredible detail they've put in there, and that's why it's taken longer this year for all of this to get out, because I've been distracted by that. But hopefully that will not prevent the teaser site from coming up on time around July 1st. But we'll have to get to it when it does. But anyway, here's some thoughts about the Usher, because people sent me lots of emails and messages and such saying, are you going to do the Usher? Am I going to do the Usher? Oh my. Well, we'll see. But am I going to do a video about the Usher? Definitely. So we're going to do that right now. So, who is Julian Browning anyway? Well, I have some guesses about what he might have been like. I'm guessing, of course, since the theater opened in 1922, and as a young boy, he was probably living in the early part of the 20th century, and he was fascinated with the Nickelodeons, those old hand-cranked and other types of theaters where you would pay a tiny amount of money to see little short clips of film. And I'm sure he was fascinated with the cinema that he saw in those days, and the great directors like D.W. Griffith and stars of that era like Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks, and the whole wide, brilliant world of Hollywood just beckoned to him. But like many people who end up working in theme parks, not to make this too close to home for some of you, but like a lot of people, he was unable to be a part of the magic except in the most menial, minimum wage way of going to work at a movie theater and being an usher. But I guess he felt somehow, because he wasn't selling popcorn or cleaning toilets or anything, that put him above those other people in the theater. He was somehow had a symbol of authority because he held that flashlight. But he felt then he was a part of the movies at last. You know, he could never be a director or a producer or an actor or whatever, but he was part of the movies. He was part of the magic of Hollywood because he was an usher at the Universal Palace Theatre. Yes. And so he had that sense of power. Now, we all know the story about how he became very irate when people were rude in his theater, and became rude and did stupid things and went to great lengths to punish them in the most severe way. and eventually it was almost as if he and the theater had become one. And eventually there was an incident during a screening of his favorite film, The Phantom of the Opera, when he himself perished, and then his essence, his spirit, continued to haunt the theater for decades after that, until it was reopened and he re-emerged, ripping from the silver screen the various characters from horror films to continue his will. Fascinating ideas there, and most brilliantly carried out in the Silver Scream's haunted house. Now, there's been some interesting speculation about Julian over the time. One of the more bizarre bits of speculation came from a fellow in England who has been known by many names, including Dr. Harvey. Interesting fellow. He put it forth on the vault that Julian was gay. I thought that was rather interesting. The only thing I could see that why he might be thought of as gay is he's a bit effeminate in a way, a bit effete, but that's kind of a stereotype because there's straight guys who are just like that, and there are gay guys that are quite butch. Judging someone by a stereotype is never a good idea. Is that why they thought I should do the Usher? Anyway, but getting back to that, it seems to me that the only icons from Halloween Horror Nights whose sexuality has actually been defined even in a tiny bit, are maybe Jack, because he had that whole thing going on with Chance in one of the in the stage show in 2007, because before that there was no mention at all of any kind of love life, and the caretaker is believed to have had a wife at some point because he has a daughter named Cindy. But we don't really know that. I mean, she may have been born out of wedlock. We don't know the story. In fact, who was Cindy's mother? Now, that's a very interesting question. Maybe someday we'll find out. But, I mean, we have no idea whatsoever. I mean, the director could be a screaming queen behind the scenes, before all we know, and Bloody Mary might be a lesbian. The old storyteller might be one too. You know, they might even be the same person after they got old. Nah, I don't think so. So we really don't know. What's Eddie with his chainsaw? You know, who knows what he's into? We really have no idea with any of these people what sort of sex lives they have, if any, because it's quite possible they're so demented and deranged and obsessed that they're asexual. And I think that might be the case with Julian Browning in particular. He has no sexual cathexis for another human being at all. I think I can read him fairly well. There's only one room in his life for one love, one romance, one obsession, one relationship, and that's with his lady. And it's not a female. I mean, it is to him it's a female, but it's not a human lady. It's the theater. It's the Universal Palace Theater itself that is his lady love, and he will defend her honor in the most violent means possible. So be nice when you talk to a lady, because Julian will get you if you're rude to his lady. All right. So what else is there about Julian? Well, again, most of the information about him was all on that website and what he did. So there's not much new to talk about. Another question that's been put to me several times recently has to do with the whole Julian Browning, I mean the whole director versus Usher thing. Could they be in a house together? And why not? And should they? And Charles has some very he has a very strong opinion on this matter. But my view is this: basically, when it was asked about them and the clarification of the difference, Roddy was asked if there was a difference between the two characters. Actually, was asked, why didn't you use the director instead of the Usher? I don't have any time left for this. Basically, no.